Hey guys, it's Grix here, and it's time for the Ultimate Boomer Guide. Now, this guide will be the Ultimate Boomer Guide that I know of that is on the internet in English, and possibly the only one. So if you guys enjoy Boomer as much as I do, please support Sil and I by subscribing, hitting the notification bell, smashing a like, and leaving a comment below, because otherwise, what the fuck are we doing it for? Right? So, to begin, this is the chapter 2 of the 5-part series of the Ultimate Boomer Guide. If you guys are here for the first time and haven't watched the chapter 1, I would strongly advise you to watch it unless you already have some sort of a boomer background knowledge and you just really want to get down to the T on how to calculate boomer's shot. But before I go on any further, I just have to let you guys know that the guide here, these 5 chapters that you're about to watch, is intensive in terms of information. So if you feel like you want to just play and you don't really want to learn, I mean, Boomer is not the tank for you. Unfortunately, there is no other way to play Boomer unless you really know how the weapon 2 is designed. And again, I am specifically teaching you guys on the weapon 2 and SS because the mechanics are the same. The S1 is a little different, and I plan on making another tutorial, not this long, but another tutorial specifically like geared just for S1. Not just an introduction like my previous one, but a real dive down in terms of how to calculate exactly where you are, the distance, how high, blah blah blah. And anyways, so in chapter 2 here, this is the chapter where I talk about the difference between power ratio and wind ratio. For those of you who watch my other examples, like the other explain videos, I talk a lot about ratios, but I don't really necessarily specify whether it's power or wind ratio. So in this video, I will be going over both power and wind ratio in terms of how I view it and how I read the compass as well. This chapter is quite intensive in terms of material, where I go over again power and wind ratio, and also how to read the compass as Boomer, because reading a compass as Boomer is completely different when you are looking at it in a standard tank's eyes point of view. There are similarities, but ultimately there are many key differences which makes Boomer that much harder. Anyways, so now that is out of the way, let's dive right into the power, wind, and compass topic. Alright, let's go. Hey guys, welcome to the chapter 2 of the Ultimate Boomer Guide. In this video or chapter, I will be talking about 3 things, which is power ratio, wind ratio, and the most important topic, which is how to read the compass as Boomer, because I think Boomer is the only tank that reads the compass this way. There are no other tanks that follow the same logic, not that I know of. So at the very end of the video, I will be talking about how to identify what the number is on the compass, even though sometimes it might say a number, but based on the direction, it's actually not that number. That's at least how I read the compass. So I don't know if everyone, other people read it the same way I do, but this is the way I managed to get through, and hopefully that will explain a lot of things so that I don't have to make a new video on how to read the compass. All right, let's go. So I'm gonna first get rid of my turn by selecting knack, because it is much easier for me to play as knack or talk about power ratio as knack, since knack is a standard tank. Okay, so let me just quickly get rid of my turn. Is that it? Yeah, that looks like it. That looks like a 4 or 5. Okay, so playing as Boomer, it's very important to know how much power you're adding, right? Because I'll give you an example. Like, okay, Knack is a standard tank, okay, for S1 at the very least. It is a standard tank. Right now, the wind is showing east, well, a little bit up east, but it's still east, right? Anywhere between northeast, aka 1:30 to 3 o'clock, whatever number is whatever the number is. So that, my friend, is the ratio 1 to 1. If it shows 1, it means 1. If it shows 12, it means 12. Only in those within those quadrant at the very least. If northeast is 1 to 1 and east is 1 to 1, guess what? Anything in between northeast and east is always gonna remain 1 to 1 because there's no other numbers to fluctuate. The wind compass doesn't magically change to a higher number if it's like in the middle of northeast and east right now. Whatever the number shows here is whatever the number shows. So that is what I consider as wind ratio. Okay, so later on with another turn, I'll go back into wind ratio, but this is what power ratio is. Power ratio means at 100% power, I'm going to shoot at 100% of what the wind compass is telling me. That, obviously, once you cancel out the two zeros on both sides, then the ratio is 1 to 1. You understand? Okay, so if the power is, let's see here, I gotta angle myself. At full power, which usually ends up being at the highest angle because you can't really shoot full power and then aim 5 because that just doesn't work, right? So full power and aiming at 5, right? Oh god, there's not 5. That's 5.5. God, my eyes are bad. Okay, so that is 5, right? This is ratio 1 to 1, okay? And so on my other examples of the explain video, depending on what the direction is pointing at, I'm always talking about full power, and your ratio, which then becomes, actually the direction then changes the ratio, which sometimes I say 50%. So if the, just theoretically saying, let's say it's perfectly southeast, okay, southeast 5, right? In a normal proximity distance, the ratio is 50%. Unless you're super far away, then it changes. But if the arc lines up somewhere looking like this, like a missile boob, right, like a missile tit, then the ratio remains the same. And if it was pointing at northeast at 5, then the ratio is split to 50%, which then you move the crosshair 2.5 spaces in front. Now, right now, because I know for sure the wind ratio is 1 to 1, and I want to shoot at 100% power, then I will do 5, right? Because at 1 to 1, the number indicates 5, then I move 5 spaces, okay? Now, what if I don't want to shoot half full power? I want to shoot half power because, let's say, there are obstacles in the way, right? There are obstacles in the way, and I just... where the fuck am I? Oh, there it is. Sorry, bad eyes, guys. Where the fuck? Anyways, sometimes you are left to shoot with 50% power, right? So at 50% power, that looks about... Let's see, and I use this dial a lot, guys. So that's about, 50% power, right? It's kind of sitting at... There we go. 2.5. All right, so when I shoot, I know it will hit because this is approximately 50% power. And obviously, the power ratio to the wind ratio is no longer 1 to 1 because I'm not shooting at 100%. I'm shooting at 50%. So technically, it is 0.5 to 1. That would be the ratio. Then that means you have to take 5 and divide it by 2. All right, a little bit of math involved, but that's how things work. And of course, you know, sometimes you might have to shoot in between to dodge clouds and all that. Then you really gotta like understand your tank by playing it a lot. Is this 70? Okay, so I'm yanking it as far back as I can, okay? I'm gonna dial it down about 75% power, 50% power, 25% power, right? That's how I gauge it. In terms of how many clickers right here, like the shit I'm moving right now, because there's no number, I can't really say. So I don't really look at the tickers. I actually look at the white line and say, okay, if this is max power, I need to have a reference as to what's 50%, right? 75% and 25%, right? So that is what I mean when I say ratio 1 to 1, and I'm always talking about full power. That's how you manage your super skies, or at least depending on the wind direction, that is how you get your sky or super sky, right? Okay, so now I have power ratio covered. I hope you guys are following with me. If you don't, let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to respond as in-depth as I can using words without showing you here on the screen. Now, let's say if... Okay, let me just fucking shoot first. Alright. Even then, I didn't get Sky. You know why? Because Knack's range is garbage. Anyways, now the wind change a little bit, right? And so we need to know and identify what the real number is on the compass. I look at the 5 as a reference. I don't really look at the 5 and say, all right, I gotta move 5 spaces. Unless you're a boomer. And I'll talk about that later on in this chapter, where I literally zoom in on the wind compass and tell you exactly. It's no, I'm not trying to keep it a secret. I will tell you. It's just this is also important to know if you want to learn how to play other tanks. But because the boomer tutorial is focused on boomer, I'm gonna try to dial it down a little bit and just focus on boomer unless I don't have to. Okay. In this direction, right, which is a little bit above west towards northwest, it's, I don't know, I like when I look at the arrow, it's literally halfway in between west and northwest, right? But this is the thing with other tanks, this wind calculation, if I were to shoot full power as Knack, I might move it 3.75 or even 4 behind the tank, right? Because of the little one notch up, right? And we're working with low numbers, so it's easy to say 3.5 or 4, right? Or anywhere in between. But with boomer, the ratio remains 1 to 1, all right? I can't stress this enough. There are certain quadrants within that circle, which I'll go into. A lot of points stays with 1 to 1, which is why I find boomer so easy to read the compass, but knowing how to gauge your power is a different thing. Okay, let me go into a power ratio with boomer, because as a normal tank, it's easy because you get to see the full curvature of the line, right? With boomer, yeah, good fucking luck. Even with like a fucking monitor on a PC, you're shooting off the map, right? So how I figure out boomer's power ratio is, honestly, wait for it, hands not working, wait for it, this little motherfucker. This little clitoris That's one of my dick butt jokes. Okay, this little bean right here, this clam buzzer, is the indicator of Boomer's power. All right, and I say this because remember in chapter 1 I tell you the length of this line, aka the length of my dick, I guess. It changes because it's a pivot point and from where that first transform marker is, right? So here, let's see. Here's the first transformer, and this is the second transformer. All right. The red line pivots on the first transformer. The red line stays straight. All right. So obviously, if you're shooting low angle, you don't have. There's not much room for error. Like, you know, there's a lot of room for error because you're shooting in a very low, like, you know, a low capacity space. But when you drag it out further and further and further, guess what? If you move a millimeter at top, you might be moving a centimeter at the bottom, right? And I'm using this metric system because I think US people use centimeters and millimeters. I don't know if they use. I don't know. I work in construction. I used to work in construction, so I got to learn both in imperial and metric. So I don't know. I don't know about you guys. I'll try to swap it out once in a while. So just to you know, clear with every audience in here. Okay. I'm just gonna flat out tell you, the second clam buzzer that I pointed out, that's 60%, 60. Okay, so that means if I want to shoot low angle, because maybe there are many reasons I shoot low angle, and it may different from you. I have multiple disabilities where my hands don't really work, so I am very limited on time if I really want to aim precisely. Especially with Boomer, you need to aim precisely, so I'm fighting time, and on top of that, my visual impairment really impairs me, and you're gonna notice in some games I shoot way off target, like a bronze would shoot closer to where I missed. Mainly it's because I can't see the lines, or I can't see the transform marker, I can't see the white line, or whatever it may be. I may not be able to see everything. So that's my limitation, but you guys don't have that, right? So I want you to know that transformer marker is 60%, all right? I don't know where, like, wait, hold on, where the fuck is the anywhere in between this, I don't give a shit, because I know if this is 60, this is 0, in the middle is 30, okay? So if I really need to shoot low angle and the wind is 12, honestly, guys, just divide it by 3. If it's 12, you move 4 spaces, right? That's exactly how I would do it. But we're not here to shoot like a fucking noob. We're learning how to be a Boomer Pro so that we can slap those sweat lords off their game, all right? I'm doing this for you. I'm doing it for the Discord channel. I'm doing it for America. And maybe Canadians. I don't think a lot of Canadians play this game. I don't know. Anyways, at 60%, right? So you literally understand, okay, the wind ratio in that direction is 1-to-1. If that is the case, I know for sure at full power on a standard tank, it should be moving it 5 spaces, right? But this is not a standard tank. We're shooting it at 60% power, which is, again, I will point out if you just joined in, this little clam buzzer right there, that's 60%. So I was giving these pointers to a teammate by the name of Shaunus. If you guys haven't seen that, I played with him once. And he was telling me, you know, that is very difficult because there's a lot of math involved. Now, at first, I agree with him, but trust me, there are only 12 numbers to work with. Chances are, numbers 1 and 2 will never show up. Even if it does, guess what? you can probably close your eyes, be as blind as Syl, and still make the shot because it's wind 1 and 2. So don't worry about it. You really only need to focus on 3 to 12, which is 10 numbers, right? And ultimately, there are certain divisions and multiplications that you just need to know. On a standard tank, you might need to know the division of 75%, 25%. Anyone knows 50%, right? It's easy. But now with Boomer, it's a little different. You need to know the division and the multiplication of 60%. It's very, very easy. 5 times 6 is 30. You move the decimal. It's 3 spaces, guys. That's it. 5 times 6 is 36. You move the space by 3.5. You can round down, you can round up. That's fine, right? Let's say if it's 12, right? 12 times 6 is 72. Then you move the space by 7.2, right? A little over 7. If you aim perfectly at 7, you're going to miss. And that's how I do it. At least if I am rushing for time. But there are many, many weaknesses to shooting this way. Mainly, let's say, distance-wise. On a bigger map, this is relatively a small map. Because on other maps, like 30 spaces, if you guys haven't followed in the first chapter, here, fucking titties. Here to this clan buzzer, that's 30 spaces. Certain maps, they may go up to 50 spaces, or even 60 spaces. Some maps, even if you spawn in the front, you won't even be able to reach the guy at the back, right? So there are wide maps. So sometimes it might be because of range limitations, but sometimes it might be time limitations. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you can figure out quickly, right? And have the 60%, in your, I guess, in your arsenal as backup, right? Even if you want to shoot like 100% ratio or 125% ratio, it doesn't matter. If you're running out of time, guess what? It's better to shoot and get a sky than to miss a complete miss from a super sky, right? That's how I see Boomer, because you also got to remember, Boomer is a glass cannon, like I've said in chapter 1. Every single hit counts. The one miss you hit, or the one shot you miss, there goes the game, because all your advantages goes out the window. Playing Boomer has a lot of its disadvantages, but if you even miss once, I mean, your team is really far behind. That's how I see Boomer at the very least of its core. Okay, so let's say here. Okay, I'm gonna dial it down because it's see, I have fucking, my hands don't work that well. That's why I need. Okay, so for me, guys, when I play, because my hands don't work that well, I need to be on the ball. If I'm distracted or anything, that's just time off my ticker, right? Because my hands don't work that well. It takes me a lot of time to get my positioning right for where I'm aiming, and then using this dial to fine tune a lot of shit, right? Let me see. Is that 3? Almost like 3.5. All right. Let's see. Yeah, fuck. I'm gonna say this is 3. Okay, so this is how I would shoot it. If I can't see the line, if it's off the map, I need something to reference, right? So shooting it at 60% is the easiest way, and this is going into chapter 3, because chapter 3 I teach you about shooting low angles. And sorry, I think I'm getting off topic. Shit, my bad. All right, but anyways, how you shoot it is that you want to be able to identify what the wind compass is telling you, and then adjusting your power ratio to that. I am super sorry that I went off topic about on chapter 3. So I don't know, maybe you can skip chapter 3 now, but I will go a little bit more in depth in details. So again, for instance, if I was Boomer, right? The ratio for this is 50%. In my previous video, you can go back for the ratio. It's off. It's not completely accurate anymore. Actually, it is. It's just the power range is different. Let me correct you. The previous, my first ever video, I believe, on the channel is the boomer tutorial. If you go back and watch that, the ratio that I talk about is the same. However, the power adjustment that boomer is now edited to this new boomer is slightly different, because before, instead of 60%, it was 50%, right? But now it's 60%. That's why when I started playing boomer in February, I was like, the fuck, I'm off by like a fuck ton, because it's not even a skim shot, it's a completely miss. So obviously I just have to recalibrate my calculation, and this is what it is. So let's go back before I get off topic again. Sorry. If I was boomer, the ratio is 50%, right? Meaning it's 0.5 to 1. Every one wind, I am going to shoot 0.5. If it's 4, obviously the answer is 2, right? And so if I was boomer, which I am not, but I'm just going to show you. If I was boomer, that's where my crosshair is going to be, all right? And obviously, god titty, damn it. Okay, the red line showing something like that, right? And then it'll just hit smack on at 50%. But let's say, all right, let's say that arrow right there is a notch over to the towards south, right? Then what? Well, because it's low numbers, it's easier to identify. If it's 4, if a notch moves down, I can easily tell you right now, if the notch is in between where it is now and perfectly south, that number is 3. All right? But the ratio aspect still stays valid and still stays the same. It's still 50%. It's just that now you're doing 50% of 3, even though the wind compass is telling you, indicating it at 4, but the direction is not, right? If it was perfectly horizontal, yes, that would be the number, right? On a standard tank, but boomer is not standard. You get more power ratio. That's why boomer can shoot so fucking weird sometimes, right? Okay, so if the arrow is swaying a little bit down, like in between where it is now, from there to south, in the middle, I'm telling you right now, it's 3. But you might ask, but Grix, it's 4, it's fine, it's easy. Yeah, what if the wind is 7? What if the wind is 10? What if the wind is 12? Guess what? It's still simple, right? Let's say theoretically the wind is 6, okay? If the number is in between 6 and south, or the perfectly diagonal southwest, right, and south, in between that, in the middle of 6, guess what? It's probably 4 or 3.5, right? It's that easy. You just find your difference, because it's very easy, because there's going to be like 3 or 4 notches. The perfectly diagonal, a little bit down, and then perfectly in between, and then a little bit down, more towards south, and then perfectly south, right? So basically what it ends up looking at like is, okay, perfectly diagonal, 100%, a little bit down, 75%, 50%, 25%, 0%, right? That's how I see it. So let's say if the number is 12, right? If it is a notch down, I would say the number then is now indicating it at 9. If it's another notch down, meaning in the in between southwest and south, I would say it's about 7 or 6, right? I would say 6 or 7. Sorry, I would say 7. And then if you go even lower, then it's probably 6 or 5, right? Because you also have to know just because it's perfectly south, it doesn't mean it ends up being 0, right? And in my tutorial, I tell you, if it's perfectly south, what is it? It's 33%, right? So you just have to fluctuate and find, okay, what's in the middle ground between 100% and negative 33%? Because it's not just 33%, it's negative 33, because you're shooting it behind the tank, not in front anymore. All right, so I don't know if you understand that logic. All right, it's not 100 to 0%. You need to find the differences between 100 and negative 33%. Once you know, based on those notches, you don't have to remember every single number. You just need to know that notch right there is, I don't know, 80% representation of the wind compass number. That notch over there is 50% of what the representation showing on the compass, right? This is why I follow a percentage base. So no matter what the number is, it doesn't fucking matter. Even if the number is fucking 73, I don't give a shit. As long as I know my my fraction based on where that arrow is, right? Then I know for sure down to the T. Luckily, Gunbound M, you know, there it has play in terms of being wrong a little bit, but not by a lot, and you'll still land your hit. You just won't land your perfect, good, and or greats. But that's okay. Landing a hit is better than not landing a hit, right? So that's wind ratio on its core. I will go into another screen to show you Boomer's reading of the compass. Okay, but before then, let me shoot another. Boomer shot, and then I will show you. Now, what I did there was 75%, which is 3. You can go back and look, right? So no matter what the number is, 75%, right? And that's for a standard tank, but Boomer's not standard. But before I jump into the actual reading of the compass, I need to explain a little bit more on the power ratio, okay? Okay, think about this. If this clam buzzer right there is 60%, you might ask, what the fuck? Where is 100%? What the fuck does this mean, right? Like, why? Like, it's off the map. I can't even fucking see the little clam buzzer anymore. Well, I am going to share with you a secret on how to hit your super skies so easy as if it was a normal tank. All right, I'm telling you this here, and I'm promising you this will be the first of its kind in video because I can't find it. And because I couldn't find it, I had to make my own fucking tutorial. So here it is, guys. Shaunus knows this because I just told him. But because I told him through text and not so much in video, it might be hard. Okay, let me explain. Okay. Clam buzzer number 1, 60%. All right. Clam buzzer number 2, 75%. Clam buzzer number 3, 100%. All right. That's how easy it is. You want to land your super skies so that you build SS quick. That's your tip and that's your trick. So this is why I say Boomer requires a little bit of math involved. But trust me, if you play Boomer not religiously but frequently, that 60%, 75%, 100%, it'll be easy for you. Why? Because I play basically almost every tank, so I know the 75% of the ranges between 1 to 12. That's easy for me. What I'm having a hard time adapting to this new Boomer is the 60%, because this clam buzzer used to be where this little fucking dot was at 50%. So it's completely off now. But because they I swear to God, they added more range to Boomer secretly. Now I gotta deal with this fucking bullshit. And same with you. You guys gotta deal with the same bullshit I gotta deal with. But again, I will reiterate, okay? Clam buzzer number 1, the white clam, okay? That's 60%. Shauna, this one's for you. 75%. And to all of you Discord motherfuckers who is watching this, 100%. And what do I say when it's 100% win ratio? On certain directions, if it is 1-to-1, that's the number. If it shows 4, you move 4. If it shows 12, you move 12. Maintaining this little dot in the same... Hold on. It's hard for me. And the reason why it's hard for me, again, it's precision, which is why I use this dial a lot. There. As long as the little second 100% clam buzzer is in line with your motherfucker that's shooting at you, that is 1-to-1 ratio. Now, let's get on a little bit deeper, hence what she said, or he said, which one is it? Fuck, I don't know. To more power. Because who doesn't like more power? More power, baby! Okay, so, the idea is, that I figured out, is each little red indicator, each little small clam buzzer is 25% apart from each other. Alright, so if you're gonna notice this clam buzzer, alright, at 75 to 100%, right? That distance is a little bit shorter than the 125. Wait, where the fuck is it? My eyes are fucking playing tricks on me. Jeez. This clam buzzer. It's a little longer. Why? It goes back to the idea of the long stick that is nailed down to the ground and you use it to pivot. The moving the pivot point by an increment of millimeters changes at the end of the stick depending on how long it is. And with Boomer, oh trust me, you can get up to 200%, right? Which is why when you shoot like this, honestly guys, I'm not fucking shitting you. If the wind was perfectly west and it is 4, guess what? You're moving 8 spaces if you're shooting something ridiculously like this. This is why I tell you, never play Boomer if you are expecting to play Boomer as a full power Boomer. I don't know how the other sweat lords in Peru does it, because guess what? It's not as simple as a normal tank because the lines change. If your opponent is further away, guess what? You see these little clam buzzers right here, the red ones? They shorten, right? Unless you can, well, maybe it's easier for you guys because my eyes are fucking shot to shits. And if you guys don't know, during my recovery, blood wasn't going to my eyes, so yeah, my eyes, some cells, some retina cells fucking died. Now I'm kind of colorblind and shit. But that's not your problem to deal with, that's mine, right? So I'm letting you guys know this secret so that maybe you will find success to it, right? So if you want to yank full fucking power just to guarantee your fucking super sky, all you gotta do is count, all right? Wait for it. Sorry, I'm very slow. Sorry, guys. I apologize. Clam buzzer number 1, 75%. Clam buzzer number fucking 2, 100%. So that's ratio 1-to-1. That's ratio 125%. I would say 1-to-1.2 or 1. You can go and nitpick the 5%. It does make a difference at 12 win, but I'm just saying, why would you go and expose yourself to such high level of missing, right? Then to just shoot it at clam buzzer number 2 at 100% 1-to-1 ratio, you will get your super sky. As long as you pass the 75% clam buzzer, you will get super sky. Unless it is south, like 12 south wind, you might have to go to the 125%. But a smart and wise man once told me, which I believe it is Falco, okay? you don't need to shoot it super sky. Just shoot it as high enough as you can to get your reward and get out. It's like fucking gambling. Gamble to, you know, what you need and get the fuck out. Don't keep going because you're not going to get any more damage. You're not going to get, well, I mean, you might get a little bit more praising from the sweat lords, but that's not what you want. You want to fucking hit them and fucking smack them and make them suck your dick. But, sorry, dick number 3 joke, I think. But yeah, that is it for the wind ratio and power ratio. I hope this trick really tells you. Now, guys, if you really want me to like fucking go in depth with what about this proportion, all right, I'm just going to tell you this dot right here. Fuck. Where the fuck is it? This clam buzzer right here is about like 40-30%. Technically speaking, if you really just use a fucking ruler and measure, in between there, like right around there, is 30%, okay? I mean, yeah, 30%. So, again, if you're shooting low angle because you're not comfortable, if the enemy is very close and you know it's going to be a tight game, you just need that one shot to shoot and win. Again, whatever the win number is, 30%, okay? That's it. As long as the ratio is 1-to-1, aka on a standard tank, power ratio 1-to-1. That's it. Alright, so I am done for the wind and power ratio. If you have any more questions, please let me know in the comments below. But until then, I will just let this simmer and let you absorb the information because it is a lot of shit to remember, which is why Sil gave up. He wanted his first gold tank to be Boomer, and then after this change, he's like, fuck it. I mean, I'm gonna go Ace because Ace is life, apparently. Anyways, I'm going off topic again. Sorry. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next screen, and I'll tell you how to read the compass as Boomer. Toodaloo! Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Grix here, and I'm just here to replace the wind compass reading section. For some reason, when I recorded it, the iPad was not showing up on the editing program that Sil was using. For some reason, there was just a major lag between the audio and the video file, but obviously you don't have to worry about that because here it is. I'm just replacing it, so I'll see you in the color wheel. Other than that, remember to subscribe, yay! Hey guys, welcome back to the color wheel. So I originally did this while I was recording, and I guess when the iPad records and I'm drawing shit, it's just too much processing or whatever power, I don't know, computers, and so it just really lagged. So I'm just here redoing it. So I'm gonna try to jump right into it without having a lot of bullshit, and if I do, Sil will edit. Okay, let's go. If you're looking at the wheel right now and you're confused, that's okay. Just imagine if your Boomer is on the left hand side shooting towards the right hand side. That's how we are looking at the compass right now. Obviously, if you are spawning on the right hand side shooting towards the left hand side, then you flip the wheel around as if it is perfectly flipped over, okay? But for ease of sake, you're on the left hand side position, shooting towards your enemy on the right hand side, okay? Let's start with the most simplest, which is northeast. As you can see here, I already drew an arrow just to indicate this is northeast, okay? And this is east. I'm telling you right now, the perfect wind indicator is between those quadrants for every single tank. Boomer is not an exception, or yeah, is not an exception. So if perfectly northeast is ratio 1-to-1, meaning if the indicator on the wind compass says it's 7, then it is 7. That's why I say it's 1-to-1. Now, if it's perfectly east, again, it's still 1-to-1. That's easy. That's the same with almost every, literally, that's the same with every fucking tank. And with anywhere in between the ratio that is 1-to-1, like between northeast and east, guess what? What's in between 100% and 100%? It's still 100%, so you don't have to worry. Now with Boomer, it makes it a lot easier because the 1-to-1 ratio expands down to the southeast quadrant. All right. So ideally, I want you to think of a pie, right? This chunk all the way down to the bottom chunk, which is like literally 2 slices of pizza or pie, right? Like 1/8 of the circle, another 1/8. That's 1/4. That's 25% of the color wheel we know is 1-to-1. So it's super easy to remember. 25% of the wheel so far is ratio 1-to-1. So remember that pie chart, because once we get past southeast, the ratio of the wind indicator changes. All right. So if I'm telling you right now perfectly, southeast is 1-to-1. Once we move down 1 click, it ends up being like 80% of it, or 80% of the wind ratio, 60%, 40%, blah 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 blah. Now I drew these black lines to indicate where the arrow of the compass might land on. I call them clicks. Okay, so with in between a perfect quadrant, meaning like let's say for example right now, south and southeast, there are about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks in between the perfect directions of the quadrants. Okay, in between south and southeast, there are about 4 clicks. So each click, you have to understand what's the ratio in between each click. And I'm going to tell you, if it's perfectly south, it is approximately 33% of whatever the wind indicator is if you are at normal distance. If you're super far, this doesn't work. You just have to account for more when you're super far. But I'm talking about regular distance, not super close, but regular distance. The ratio for perfect south quadrant is 33%, meaning every 3 wind, we're moving 1 space over on the ruler. All right. So let's say again, for example, the wind indicator right now is 7, right? And if the arrow of the compass is not perfectly south, but let's say 1 notch over, right, and it's 7, then I know, right, if 7 at perfect south quadrant is about 2.3, right, moving 1 notch over makes it maybe close to 3 or 3.5. So we just have to know, when the clicks move, how much are we adjusting. And usually for low numbers, we adjust the numbers by either 0.5 click or 1 click, and it works up slowly to 2 click and then 3 click. And I'm telling you right now, if the wind is 12, 11, or maybe even 10, each click you're moving 3, it's counted as 3. Anywhere between 10, 9, and 8, that's about 2. Anywhere between 6 and below, it could be 1, and anywhere in between 4 to 0, which you will never fucking see, is 0.5. Okay, so we just need to know how much we need to adjust or account for in each click, and it really depends what the indicator on the compass is telling us. If the fucking tits, whoops. If the number is 12, okay, then we know each click we need to account for more. Just like what I said with the boomer tutorial number 4. Imagine the line being a pendulum, and it's the same here, right? If the pendulum starts here and it ends down here, every single movement that it sways is accounted for depending on the wind number. Obviously, if the wind number is higher, the end of the pendulum, each swing makes a bigger gap, right? If the number is small, it doesn't matter if you move full range of 1, right? Each click is probably 0.25, 0.5, 0.75. It doesn't make a big difference if the number is low. So I'm telling you right now, northeast all the way down to southeast, ratio is 1-to-1. Anywhere in between, you're going to have to play it as if it is a regular tank and understand how this area works. All right, and even though the indicator number changes, the power to wind ratio stays the same. It's still 1-to-1. For example, if the wind again is 7, and let's say at the right around this click, I would say the indicator is technically at 3.5. Even though it is showing 7, I know when I move the ruler towards the enemy, whether it's front or back, whatever, it is 3.5. Now, just because I know the indicator number is 3.5, what does that mean to my power ratio? It is still 1-to-1. So meaning, even though the indicator number changed, it's no longer 7, but the true number is 3.5. The power ratio at 100%, I'm still moving it 3.5. Okay? Now, here in the purple indigo, I'm colorblind, guys, so I don't even know. This bluish purple, I believe. All right, the ratio is power ratio is 50% of whatever the indicator number is. Now, here on the bottom piece of pie, you're gonna notice the indigo color or whatever, purple, blue, I really don't know, is a lot darker with little stripes. Okay, I made that on purpose to let you guys know it is the same but a little bit different with the polar opposite quadrant, which is right here. Okay, we're gonna work on the bottom one first just because it's easier and work our way around. You know what, fuck it, I'm gonna work on the bottom one first and then work on the top. Okay, the quadrant between south and southwest, the power ratio is 50%. However, the indicator, the wind ratio, you have to find what the real indicator number is. Okay, if it is perfectly southwest, the wind ratio is 50%. Meaning, if the indicator shows 9, we move the spaces 4.5. Okay, do you understand? If the indicator, which is 9, the technicality of that of the indicator at 50% is 4.5, right? Don't let the number on the compass fool you. It's just a reference. We need to know what the ratios are. And southwest is 50%. If it's 12, it's 6. If it's 4, it's 2. That's easy. Now, again, anywhere in between this part, we need to find what the real indicator number is. However, when we find the indicator number, the ratio remains the same. It's still 50%. So again, like I said, if let's say the motherfucker. All right, let's say the notch is about here, right, at 7, right? I know for sure. Actually, no, that's a bad example because that's basically neutral wind. All right, that's a bad example. Let's say it's one notch close to perfectly southwest. All right, and the indicator number is 8. If one notch over, if it's perfectly southwest, technically it is 4. With one notch down, it might be 7. The real number might end up being 6 or 7, and then you divide that again by 50%, because anywhere within this range, right, this piece of the pie, it's considered 50%. You just have to find out what the real indicator number is. Now, that's super easy. I love southwest wind. Let's move on over to the north side of things, the polar opposite. Now, the reason why I shaded it without the stripe or the fact that it's lighter, mainly it's because it plays 2 separate roles. Now, I want you guys to remember a little bit of what we talked about in chapter, oh god, where did we talk? In the earlier chapters, okay? Fuck it. If you're within close range, 0 to 15 spaces at full power, yes, it is still considered 50%. Alright? So again, you just have to know and identify what the actual indicator number is, and then you divide it by 50% if your target is within 0 to 15 space proximity. There if it's further than 15 spaces, then the ratio ends up being 1 to 1. It changes. There are 2 roles within this quadrant. Okay, I'm gonna illustrate it again. This piece of the pie right here, the color is different from the polar opposite. It is because it has 2 separate roles. So I don't want you guys to be confused about it. The first role, again, I'm just re-illustrating, is if your enemy is within 0 to 15 space proximity and you're shooting at basically at 100% or even further full power, you have to divide it by 50%. All right, 50%. If you are close, and again, the fucker in front of you is within that proximity and the indicator shows 12, right? You identify what the real number is, even though it shows 12, and then you divide it by 2. All right? But if your enemy is further away, meaning 15 spaces and beyond, then the ratio stays at 1 to 1. All right? We're almost done. We're literally more than halfway through the pie. All right? Now, moving on over to the south side of the things. I don't know what color this is. It might be brown, olive green, shit green, puke green. When you have green shit, I think that's the color. All right, that ratio slowly moves up the block. Now, if southwest is perfectly at southwest and it's 50%, this notch right here, I'm just going to tell you, right? It's a very small notch. That's 75%. It's literally like perfectly southwest, 1 click, 2 click. In those 2 clicks, that's 75%. All right, that one's really confusing and it will fuck you in the ass a little bit because it fucks me in the ass daily. All right, but that's okay. You don't have to get fucked in the ass because I'm telling you this. So anywhere past those 2 clicks, it ends up being back to 1 to 1. All right, it's very similar to the polar opposite of the east side versus the west side. The only difference is there are 2 clicks after the perfect southwest. It ends up being 75%. All right. Now again, anywhere above that shit is 1 to 1. So that's why it's the same color. All right. Cool. Now let's work on the last piece of the pie, which you can guess it. It's still the same pinkish red? Peach? I don't know. It's the same opposite as its polar partner, right? It's still 1 to 1, but you just need to identify what the number is. The yellow part that I've indicated here, you don't have to find whatever the indicator number is. No matter where the clicks are, it's still 1 to 1. It won't be confusing, which is why I love playing Boomer. It's so easy to read the wind compass. It's literally for dummies, I swear to God. Once you know it, you're gonna realize reading Boomer's compass, it's so easy. You don't want to play any other tank, but then obviously you do, so you don't get bored. But anyways, so just to recap what we've illustrated here, all right, the polar opposites are very similar, right? This is very similar to this, except it's just got an extra rule on top. If you guys don't remember, it is within 15 spaces to you and the target, that's 50%. Anywhere further than that is 100%, okay? That's the only difference compared to this one, which is only 50%, no matter where it is. no matter where you are. Alright, now moving on here, again, it's 1-to-1, but you have to find the actual indicator number. Polar opposite, same fucking thing. Alright, now that 50% of the pizza pie is covered, we just have to look at this 1-to-1 throughout the spectrum. Here, 1-to-1 throughout the spectrum, except for down here, there are 2 clicks that remains at 75%. So, I know I'm rambling on a little bit, but I just want to re-illustrate one more thing. It is super important to know your math ratios when playing Boomer, especially if you are going to pull back more than what you need. It's super important to know your increments of 25%. I don't like doing that just so I can remember less, okay? I only need to remember up to 50%, 60% transfer marker, 75% the first dot over the transfer marker, 100% the second dot past the transfer marker, 125% third dot past the transfer marker, 150% fourth dot past the dot past the transfer marker, and that is it. I don't have to give a shit about it anymore unless I'm going to the reverse Boomer, which you will see in a few days after I upload it. And yeah, be sure to subscribe to be able to get that information. But until then, I think that's it for the color wheel. I'm gonna leave it as that because I don't want to start rambling on, and because I know Sil is gonna say you're just talking too much. That's the same shit I hear from his mouth every fucking day. But it's okay. You don't have to hear that. So I will see you guys. Oh my god, I'm done. I'm fucking thirsty as fuck, and I'm thirsty for water, not for anything else. But anywho, I will see you guys in chapter 3. Bye.